motto is, don't let no one work harder than you. And gladiators work hard.
I'm here 6 to 7 days a week, 5 to 6 hours a day.
About 18 hours a week.
I'll do a little bit of footwork just to get my body warmed up.
Hit the speed bag, hit the double end bag.
And we go for 3 events for about 45 minutes.
Jog 2 laps around a 400-meter track.
I'm able to do more things than most people at this age, and it's just really cool for me.
The part that captivated me was how beautiful the sport was, how graceful.
Such a combination of power and agility and like the balance that it takes to row successfully is just phenomenal.
It's what I do, it's what I'm really good at. Once you find that, you know that you have to pursue your dreams through that, and you can't just let it go to waste.
You fence for yourself and you fence to fight for your values, and I'm ready to dedicate everything to it.
It's so great when you do something successfully. It's not just that great feeling of pride within yourself, but you know that everyone around you is feeling it. You know, you get to be a part of something bigger. When you're tired and you're working through your tiredness, that is when your real work is coming.
You have to be able to push yourself to your absolute physical limit. Everything in your head and in your body is telling you do not do this, but you have to do it to be successful.
It's all gonna pay off in the long run, and I know I can make it.
My dream is to just do my best along the way, and if I can, go to the Olympics.
I can see myself being up on that podium holding my country's flag.
Just being in the Paralympics would be great. I don't necessarily have to win. If I won, it would be phenomenal.
If you go and watch the Olympics, that gives you something to aspire to, and it shows kids that there's something that they can amount to, and it could give them the inspiration they need to keep going, you know, keep the passion for all sports alive in this city.
At the Olympics, you're surrounded by all other athletes of all such a high caliber, and in that sense, you're like a big family. It creates a really special link between Olympic athletes.
Pop, 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 pop.
I feel like my destiny is to be a boxer.
Body and head. That's it.
It's a sport that I love, and I'm making something good out of my fighting on the streets. I wanna make history.
Can a city collectively hold its breath? On a cold, gray morning, the city of Chicago seems to do just that, as it awaits the announcement of who will host the 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
It's so great for Chicago. It'd be fantastic to bring the Olympics here and really showcase this world-class city.
We gotta represent for the 2016. Chicago's the best.
I plan on being here in 7 years, so I would definitely love to be able to see it.
I think it would be absolutely wonderful for Chicago.
Banners decorate lampposts, and dignitaries crowd the raised platform in Daley Plaza. While the team in Copenhagen, led by Mayor Daley, Pat Ryan, and President Obama, prepares to give its final presentation to the International Olympic Committee, thousands of Chicagoans gather around the Picasso statue to share what they hope will be a joyful communal experience. A 4-year contest that began with 12 cities has been narrowed to just 4: Tokyo, Madrid, Rio de Janeiro, and Chicago.
For the city of Chicago.
Most astute observers see the finals as a duel between Chicago and Rio, with Madrid and Tokyo going out on the first 2 rounds.
The first ballot is probably the most dangerous ballot because it is a the process is not, you won't see who votes. You don't know, and maybe there's a political vote that somebody feels they need to make in the first round.
So when the announcement comes that Chicago is the first city out,
The city of Chicago, having obtained the least number of votes, will not participate in the next round.
A mixture of shock and disbelief fills Daley Plaza.
No one expected this development, and an audible gasp went up in this building when the announcement was made that Chicago had received the least number of votes and had been eliminated in the very first round of voting.
The air has been let out of a very large balloon.
What happened? What happened, world?
It was pretty shocking. You know, I thought we had a pretty strong candidacy.
And I'm just very disappointed.
And I could not even fathom or believe it. I mean, I felt like it was a nightmare.
I want the games to come to Chicago.
Experts felt Chicago's bid was the best ever put forth by an American city. The games, though, had never been to South America, and Rio presented an opportunity to globally expand the Olympic movement. But amidst the gasps and dropped jaws, there are some in the crowd who grasped the bigger picture.
I just think that it's their loss. We would have made a great host for the Olympics, and we Chicagoans, we never give up.
We're also sad and shocked and disappointed, but I think this is a great opportunity for Chicago to really step up and show the resolve as we have as being in Chicago and Americans.
I think we should use this energy that we've put in for the 2016 Olympics, and let's build Chicago and make it a better Chicagoland.
I think the spirit must stay alive. The spirit of 2016 must stay alive.
It seems like the city, Chicago, really celebrates that moment where the prairies meet the lake, and the city rose out of the fire. They rebuilt themselves, and they created this incredibly high, dense urban architecture that really solidified Chicago as a major city in the world.
Every time I go downtown, I get a kick. Just being around now Millennium Park, being around Grant Park, the tall buildings on Michigan Avenue, the fact that that lake is right there. I mean, what other city has a beach in the middle of downtown? I would sit in this city or drive downtown or sometimes run home along the lakefront, and I would start thinking, why has Chicago never bid for an Olympics?
One could make a strong case that it was Chicago's destiny to pursue the Olympic Games. This is, after all, the city urged to make no small plans by architect Daniel Burnham, who then demonstrates exactly what he means by creating the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893. Covering more than 600 acres and featuring 200 new buildings, the Great Fair draws 27 million people from around the world. The White City, as it would soon be known, attains a status that borders on the mythic.
Burnham created a city that is literally designed to host public celebrations. He wanted to create a place for the people to enjoy nature and parks. He was therefore perfectly aligned with the needs of the Olympic Games.
1933 was the World's Fair, and this was another opportunity for Chicago to reach out to the world and invite everyone to come visit.
Fresh ideas are as frequent as fresh breezes off the lake. The world's first skyscraper, the 1959 Pan Am Games, the 1994 World Cup, Millennium Park.
What an incredible asset and achievement Millennium Park is for the mayor and for the community.
It is a city that likes to set high targets. They're not afraid of big plans. It's a great city for hosting global parties. We have things to share, and we want to share them. There are very few American cities that have the guts and the interest in being global, strong, urban, and livable cities.
In no time, Chicago becomes a magnet for those who want to make their mark on the world. the athletes, architects, the musicians, and politicians.
We care so much about life, love, family, music. It's important to the fabric of the city.
I think it's pretty exciting that Chicago is now considered at the forefront of modern gastronomy here in this country.
There's no place I'd rather work than here. No city that I'd rather work in than Chicago. And there's just something about this city. It's almost like a person.
It's a city of every nationality, color, creed, religion, and it works pretty good, gang. It's what we call America.
Despite a moniker suggesting otherwise, Chicago rarely settles for anything resembling second best. And now, a city that began as a small trading post attempts to take the latest in a long series of steps forward, ready to show the world that while the Great Fair of 1893 was truly an event for the ages, the 2016 Olympics, if held in Chicago, could be all that and even more. Sometime in the spring of 2005, the ghost of Burnham whispers his inspirational words into the ears of some influential Chicagoans, Mayor Richard M. Daley and Pat Ryan.
I got involved with the Olympic bid when I got a phone call from Mayor Daley. He said, I've got a great idea I'd like to talk to you about. Could you come over? And I did.
I said, Pat, I want you to do me a favor. And he said, what? He says, I want you to help me with this Olympic bid. You're the right man for the right job, and now you'll put 100% into it. You've had the global experience, you know the business experience, and I think you can put a committee together and really work this.
Anyways, love the Olympics, and I was intrigued to see what might be, and that's what we did. We examined it, did an evaluation, came up with a great plan during the evaluation, and we were off to the races.
There are any number of reasons an Olympic bid makes sense for Chicago.
In the late 90s and the early 2000s, there were a group of business leaders that want us to bid in the 2012. And then I talked to a number of people who are very familiar inside politics and everything with the Olympic movement, and they told me it would be going to London, going back some way to Europe. And so we would not be in that process. And so a number of years later, we knew 2016 would be an opportunity there. And that's when we start looking at very closely, because that was a window of opportunity that some way it's going to come back to the hemisphere.
Everything needed for an Olympics, particularly an Olympics of the scale of the late 80s and early 90s, was already in place in the city. Great transportation hub, huge hotel infrastructure, lots of sporting facilities, a body of water right in downtown. So I would think Chicago should bid for an Olympic Games.
In October 2005, U.S. Olympic Committee officials meet with Chicago, as well as Houston, San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles, to discuss what bidding to be host of the 2016 Summer Olympics will entail.
The U.S. Olympic Committee was trying to put cities through sort of a mock of what would happen at the international level to really make sure they were prepared for sort of the level of detail and intensity that was going to happen.
The cities had competed before, on football fields, basketball courts, and baseball diamonds. But this time, they were competing for the largest prize in all of sport, the Olympic Games.
Philadelphia and Houston actually came up a bit short in terms of international image, and they were eliminated early in the process. Chicago had everything that the IOC wanted out of an American host city. It had a beautiful urban center with parks for great public celebrations. It had a powerful mayor in Richard M. Daley, perhaps the most powerful mayor in the world. He can get things done. A great bid leader in Pat Ryan, one of the most accomplished people in business and arts ever to enter the Olympic arena. And something more, it had Barack Obama.
We are prepared to host a Games that will bring the world together around principles of mutual respect and understanding. I can think of no better place to hold the 2016 Games than in this most American of America's cities.
Peter Uberoth, United States Olympic Committee chairman at the time, visits potential host cities in the spring of 2006.
We want to reestablish the United States of America and the international Olympic movement. We lost our pace over the years, and we think that now is the time that we can host the athletes of the world again.
Soon after, stadium issues forced San Francisco to withdraw from the competition. Chicago now creates a logo for their bid.
So we created this beacon, which basically was a flame, as well as the handle of the beacon itself, the torch, and then obviously having the city rise up out of the ashes from the Chicago fire. People loved that story.
As the logo is introduced on banners and posters, the bid becomes that much more of a reality for millions of already excited Chicagoans. The final stage of the domestic selection occurs on April 14, 2007, at Washington's Embassy Row Hotel, where the two remaining bid cities, Chicago and Los Angeles, make final 40-minute presentations to the USOC board members.
I remember spending hours and hours refining the presentation and then the speeches and just going through it and going through it and going through it and having mock question and answer panels and just doing the rapid fire, coming up with every possible conceivable question they might ask. You know, I don't get nervous about speaking. I've done so much of it over so many years, and my knees were shaking so hard that I was like doing all I could to keep them from moving. And you know, I felt the weight. You know, I think we really felt the pressure. Like, wow, this is time. You know, this is it.
Then Uberov announces the winner.
At this time, I am proud, very proud to announce the United States applicant city for the 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Games is Chicago.
Some very exciting news this afternoon. Just reported the USOC has spoken, and the decision from the U.S. Olympic Committee this afternoon is that Chicago has won the opportunity to bid for the 2016 Olympic Games.
Well, I was really excited because everybody thought LA had it, because most of the U.S. Olympic Committee was all from California and set up for California, and I think it came out, the strength of our bid was really strong. I think that was unbelievable. I couldn't, you know, everybody discounted us out, and so that jumped right out. They thought I was a basketball player.
Now Chicago will move forward in the international process of bidding for the Games. It's an effort backed by Mayor Daley and some of the city's most powerful business and civic leaders. It has proven to be a success so far. Now it'll be a 2-year-plus wait.
Excitement is high, but celebrations are kept short by the Chicago contingent, which realizes that a long road lies ahead and that the stakes are now even higher. Bidding for the Olympics isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, followed immediately by a triathlon. With the domestic phase over, the grueling international stage begins.
The USOC has given us an opportunity to showcase Chicago around the world to advance the Olympic movement. I want to thank the USOC again for their vote of confidence in our great city.
In September of 2007, the IOC recognizes 7 applicant cities: Chicago, Rio de Janeiro, Madrid, Prague, Doha, Baku, and Tokyo. The international phase lasts almost 2 years with a number of significant milestones. The first is the completion of the application file, a 100-page document summarizing the infrastructure and technological qualities of the city. The heart of Chicago's applicant file is the venue plan, and that plan centers around the very heart of the city itself. The venues in the Olympic Village will sit in close proximity to both the lakefront and the cultural attractions that make Chicago one of the world's great cities. Medals of gold, silver, and bronze will be given out against a backdrop of shimmering metallic skyscrapers.
Well, one of the things I think is key to getting the vote is putting the athletes at the center of the equation. And that's one of the things that's really impressed me about Chicago 2016 is right from the get-go, everything designed around the Olympic Village, the competition venues, the training venues, dining halls. Everything was designed to make it the best possible experience for the athletes.
Chicago had a spectacular center of the city when you consider that all of the art and all of the cultural attractions and the lakefront and everything were all integrated into this plan. From a visual standpoint, it would have been one of the most striking sets of vistas that anybody could have ever imagined.
Well, that kind of a compact games, and not only compact, but right in the heart and the center of a city where the athletes could go out and enjoy everything that Chicago has to offer without driving for an hour or two every day. I mean, it would have been an unbelievable games.
The compact, sustainable plan maximizes the use of existing and temporary venues. Indeed, 22 of 27 venues will fit this criteria.
You know, one of the things that makes bidding difficult is the incredible cost, and one of the beautiful things about Chicago's bid is how efficient they were with the venues. It wasn't about constructing 100,000-seat stadiums that were going to be used maybe 8 times a year. Chicago was very ingenious in the way that they put together their venue plan, because a lot of the venues were temporary.
Washington Park on the near south side will be transformed into the Olympic Park and be home to the main 90,000-seat stadium. After the games, the structure will be repurposed to a 5,000-seat multi-use facility for the neighborhood. In May, a slight hiccup occurs as Chicago is notified its logo, which features a torch and flame, violates IOC rules against using Olympic torch imagery. A new design is immediately created. Students at the Disney Magnet School help introduce the new logo.
The colors all represent different things.
Gold for the skyline of Chicago.
Red would mean passion that the city has.
And then the green will stand for all the parks that Chicago has.
And the blue stands for the different types of waters we have around the city, like Lake Michigan.
The star on the logo makes me think of the Chicago stars on the city flag.
The 6 points on the star, they represent like different values in the Olympics.
Back on track, the bid moves forward with purpose and momentum. World Sports Chicago is established in June.
We created World Sports Chicago because the bid leadership felt we really needed to do something genuine for sport and genuine for the youth of Chicago to demonstrate to the International Olympic Committee that we were serious about sport. We felt there needed to be more opportunities for the young people in Chicago to participate in Olympic sport. And as well, we wanted to demonstrate that Chicago was a good market for Olympic sport and in some ways an untapped market.
When World Sports Chicago was created, one of the things that we really wanted to do was make sure that we created an organization that could live on regardless of whether we won or lost the game. So, right at the beginning, we were thinking about what was to come next.
Children with physical or visual disabilities have the same excitement and energy and aspirations to being athletes as their non-disabled peers. And the great thing about World Sports Chicago is that we provide those opportunities to the kids. Some of the programs that World Sports Chicago is implementing include a judo program in the schools for kids who have visual and physical disabilities. We're also providing after-school support for bocce program and track and field training for kids who have disabilities. The program that we have here at World Sports Chicago is unique in the U.S. There aren't any other agencies that are kind of connecting dots and providing these kinds of quality opportunities for kids with disabilities.
I get to meet a lot of athletes. Like, for example, tomorrow, the Olympians that competed in Beijing are going to be over there. And we're actually going to be able to get in the water with them and do workouts with them, and I think that's very fun. If I wouldn't have had World Sports Chicago, I would have never gotten the chance to do that.
Everybody show me a nice type.
Well, the World Sports Chicago Scholarship Program is a program aimed at helping kids get out there in the world through their sport. So letting you know that there are lots of different opportunities, not just playing sports, but also in sports business and sports management. And so instantly, from the moment I was accepted to the World Sports Chicago program, I decided that I wanted to rededicate my life to tennis and work much harder to be successful.
October brings the organization's inaugural event, the World Boxing Championships. 557 boxers from 112 countries take part in this qualifying event for the 2008 Beijing Games. For 2 weeks, the city's ethnic diversity is on proud display as fans representing all corners of the globe wave flags and shout support in their native tongue.
Boxing, I like boxing. Then I realized how many Mongolians there were in Chicago at that event. That's one thing. They couldn't believe the amount of audience, the diversity here in Chicago.
They did a great job, great venue. The way they organized it, everything, everybody in Chicago, I mean, it was awesome. You know, the parade showcasing the boxes down the downtown area, like that, the people got to see, you know, the fighters, and the fighters got to see our city.
I thought, given the fact that Chicago became the last-minute host, in the terms of running big events, which have a lot of people from a lot of places, and boxing is among the most universal sports in the Olympic movement, I thought Chicago did a great job.
This proves City of Chicago have the total capacity to organize bigger events.
Things are going well, and they get even better when the IOC announces that the final group of candidate cities has been selected.
The cities that have been selected as candidate cities for the 2016 Olympic Games, and I will read them in the order of drawing of lots, are Chicago,
Joining Chicago are Madrid, Tokyo, and Rio de Janeiro. This means the city can now add the Olympic rings to its logo. An unveiling of the new logo takes place at Daley Plaza with the mayor and a few special guests.
And of course, our guest, Senator Barack Obama.
How's it going, Chicago? I just want you to know, in the interest of full disclosure, I only live 2 blocks away from where the Olympics are going to kick off in 2016. And so I'm just going to be able to walk over there. I might have to rent out my house. I don't know how much it's going to be worth. And I also, in the interest of full disclosure, have to let you know that in 2016, I'll be wrapping up my 2nd term as president.
Throughout the bid, Chicago receives generous support, not only from the millions of Chicagoans who dream of one day taking the L to see the world's best athletes compete, but from the likes of the President and First Lady, as well as such luminaries as Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, and 16-time medal winner Michael Phelps.
I think Chicago would be a great place to have the Olympics. People are amazing and they're so passionate about any sport and every sport. I really can't see it being in a better place than Chicago.
Also partaking in the proceedings is the grandson of 4-time medal winner Jesse Owens. Stuart Owen Ranking, in fact, hand-delivers the official bid book to the IOC in Lausanne, Switzerland. The bid book is an exhaustive 600-page document that explains in detail every aspect of the city's bid. However, after one hurdle is cleared, another appears on the horizon, and it's a big one.
We unfortunately drew the first lot, which meant we always had to set par for what the other cities could do and adjust, and they could move with the news coverage. They could change their evaluation visit based on what we did. Also, what that meant was, unfortunately for us, when we finally got an opportunity to bring IOC members to town and tell them about our beautiful city, it was gray and grizzly March.
Despite the weather, it's time for the city to shine. This is the first visit to Chicago for a number of the IOC members. Now the 1-2 punch of the lakefront and skyline can hopefully work its magic. The 3-day visit includes tours of the prospective venue sites, as well as a detailed 17-segment presentation covering everything from mass transit to sponsorship opportunities.
Wow, this is it. We have to convince these people around this table right now that we are the place, you know? It was, you know, having been a competitor, you know what stress is like, you know what getting ready for competition is like, but this was so much bigger than just any one of us individually. All of a sudden you're realizing, wow, I'm not just representing me and this group of people, but the city of Chicago, but the nation.
We may not all be fleet of foot or superior in strength, but all of us in our own way can be part of the Olympics. through our passion.
As part of the presentation, a series of films is shown to demonstrate the city's passion for the Games. Among those playing a hand in their creation are two-time Academy Award-winning cinematographer Janusz Kaminski and Hoop Dreams director Steve James. Michael Jordan stars in one film.
We're ready.
And Oprah Winfrey adds her voice to another.
Ahoy, sestra.
Labas, sesas. Namaste, Didi.
The Olympic spirit you'll find across Chicago is the same spirit that makes us a proud sister city to 27 cities across the world. To see all people as our friends and all friends as family.
Chicago is the first city the delegation will visit. And if first impressions count for anything, the city and the staff of Chicago 2016 seem to have made a good one.
We have very carefully studied the bid documents and have visited the venues. We have been most impressed to find what Chicago could offer to the Olympic Games and to the Olympic movements. Good luck, Chicago.
October in Copenhagen are getting closer, but there's still some work to be done here at home.
Thank you for being here.
Chicago is a city of neighborhoods, and the 2016 team reaches out to each and every one of them to make sure people understand the bid and have an opportunity to get involved.
We did have over 400 community meetings and presentations over a 2-year period, and learning more about what mattered to everyday Chicagoans was the best part of this.
Park District World Sports Chicago water polo team.
That process, going around the city, seeing people come together and really begin to understand what those 17 days of the Olympic Games and 11 days of the Paralympic Games would mean, and the potential impact on Chicago was just huge.
A meeting with the Chicago City Council gains unanimous approval of the financial support that's required by the International Olympic Committee.
Denmark, Shabona, Sweden.
Olympic Week in early May draws more than 230,000 students from throughout the Chicago area. Some 40 Olympians and Paralympians visit local schools to share Olympic ideals and values.
This was the energy and excitement and enthusiasm of a city and a nation that was with us, and that was so neat to see and so much fun to be part of. It's just expanding these kids' horizons beyond their neighborhood, which I think is tremendously important.
The best part for me was going out into the neighborhoods and to the schools and telling them about my sport and about the Olympics.
Right on the heels of Olympic Week comes Olympic Day in June. More than 100 U.S. cities show their support for Chicago's bid by offering athletic competitions and other festivities. Here in Chicago, summer camps host youth fun runs, and both amateur and professional events are held.
I feel really good about where we're at and the kind of the support we're getting from the city and all over the country, really.
The day ends with a large celebration at North Avenue Beach, proposed site of the 2016 triathlon starting line. As the music fills the beautiful summer night, spirits are up and passports are stamped. Copenhagen awaits.
You know, it's a really big deal what's coming up in October, and that's the Olympic bid selection. It's going to be determined, and we want to show the rest of the world that this city is the city for the Olympic Games.
It's only fitting that Hans Christian Andersen once called this city home. As the members of Chicago 2016 arrive in Copenhagen, they're hoping for a storybook ending to their long journey.
Every city had worked so hard in their campaign, and it all came down to this. And you could literally, with this star power that was in that city for a week, is like no other city on the planet.
We're all a part of a team, so I think that me being here adds to the team spirit. It just says that I, along with a multitude of other Chicagoans, want this to happen.
A steady stream of big moments has given way to this, the biggest moment yet, as the team, led by Mayor Daley and Pat Ryan, is now joined by recently elected President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. The team rehearses and makes last-minute adjustments. On the morning of Friday, October 2nd, all 4 cities make their presentations. Chicago is first.
During my 20 years as mayor, we have set bold goals and we have achieved them. We have created amazing parks that draw millions each year. We have rebuilt our school system. We signed the Kyoto Protocol and became a leading voice in addressing environmental issues.
And I am dreaming of an Olympic and Paralympic Games in Chicago that will light up lives in neighborhoods all across America and all across the world, inspiring this generation and building a lasting legacy for the next.
A dream that no matter who we are, where we come from, no matter what we look like or what hand life has dealt us, with hard work and discipline and dedication, we can make it if we try. That's not just the American dream, that is the Olympic spirit. It's the essence of the Olympic spirit. And that's why we see so much of ourselves in these games. That's why we want them in Chicago.
The time for second guessing is over. All that can be done now is await the final decision.
The city of Chicago, having obtained the least number of votes, will not participate in the next round.
Shocked. I really was. Never anticipated it. Clearly, there was a feeling that it ought to go to South America if they could handle it. And the question all along wasn't, should it go to South America? It was, when should it go to South America? And they really did a great job of convincing the IOC membership and leadership that they were ready.
Sports analogies can often seem trite, but if ever one was appropriate, it was now. Chicago had aspired to achieve its personal best, to leave it all out on the field, and it had done just that. While some would ask whether the effort was worth it, those involved had no doubts.
Of all the things that I did, it was one of the most exciting activities I've ever done. I mean, we had put Chicago on the global map, and with all that publicity and the competition, it was all worth it. You know, you have to take risks. If you don't, you never succeed in life. And that's why I'm glad we did it in Chicago.
Chicago unequivocally, indisputably had the best bid ever presented in American bid history. What the people here had planned and what could have been refined and presented would have been absolutely first-rate in every regard.
Regardless of winning or losing the bid, it was the single greatest marketing campaign for Chicago internationally that's happened since the World's Fair. And we were able to showcase the city in a way that probably would take 30 to 40 years of marketing in 2 years.
People who never really thought more about the city than maybe Michael Jordan or going way back Al Capone really got a different sense of what Chicago was about and who the people of Chicago were.
If we didn't put a bid in and we didn't try, we would have never known. We would have never known that. We probably could have hosted it, you know. We would have been sitting on the sidelines. At least we get a lot of travelers that want to come and see our city, even from the delegates. You're still welcome.
Chicago didn't lose. Rio won, but Chicago won in so many ways. There's some terrific opportunities coming down the road that will be legacies of the bid.
Bringing the community together, I think personally that this is one of the most important things that came out of Chicago's bid for the Games in 2016.
This really tapped the vein of the collaborative spirit of Chicago in bringing together corporate, community, neighborhoods, foundations together. One of the legacies of the bid was the availability of $22 million to invest in a jobs program. We were able to secure 2,200 jobs for places like Jackson Park, Humboldt Park, Washington Park, Douglas Park.
Even now, there are groups of people that were involved in the bid that are looking for more ways to impact our city for generations to come.
Today, World Sports Chicago continues to support the city's youth and expand their knowledge of Olympic sport and values.
Leadership of the bid has moved over to become the leadership of World Sports Chicago, and we continue impacting not thousands, but tens of thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of young people each year with sporting opportunities in Chicago.
There are a lot of organizations out there who are trying to do good things and who are trying to help youth in the city, who are just looking for that little bit of assistance. And I think that that's the role we want to play.
We won't be hosting the 2016 Games in Chicago, but the lives of thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of inner city kids have been touched through sport because of this bid, and that legacy will last for generations.
Should we bid again?
Yes, Chicago should bid again.
I think we should bid again.
Chicago should bid again.
Never say never, right?
I believe Chicago should bid again. In fact, our team put our bid plan into a time capsule, and it's there to be taken out by a future mayor and business community and community leaders. And it will be very timely, because what was great about our bid was the physical beauty and lakefront and parks of the city, and that's not going away. So when there is another bid, it will cost far less than what our bid cost. And it could be 8 years, 12 years, 16 years.
It has to go to Africa. It has to go to India. And it has to go to the Middle East. But it has to go to those countries. I don't think they can step over those countries or those continents.
You know, this is a process, and most cities have to bid 2 or 3 times before they win the rights to host the Olympic Games.
I think that it would be a loss for the international sports community not to come and have the opportunity to experience Chicago.
If and when we do want to reconsider a bid, we are definitely going to want to be in a dialogue with the people of Chicago. The combination of the great leadership that you were able to put together, the great plan, I think we definitely want to revisit that with Chicago at some point in the future.
Over time, Chicagoans will want to do this again, and they'll be at a distinct advantage.
Regardless of the outcome, the Olympic bid stirred the hearts of Chicagoans everywhere. It brought people together to dream, to hope, and to root for something so big it boggled the mind. Through World Sports Chicago, the legacy of the bid lives on, inspiring young Chicagoans to run another lap, to take another shot, to fight another round, and to maybe, just maybe, one day become an Olympian.
The Olympic bid, it was a great, great thing for Chicago. And someday, Chicago will host the Olympics.
I came to discover that Chicago is that most American of American cities, but one where citizens from more than 130 nations inhabit a rich tapestry of distinctive neighborhoods. Each one of those neighborhoods, from Greektown to the Ukrainian Village, from Devon to Pilsen to Washington Park, has its own unique character, its own unique history, its songs, its language. But each is also part of our city, one city, a city where I finally found a home. Chicago is a place where we strive to celebrate what makes us different, just as we celebrate what we have in common. It's a place where our unity is on colorful display at so many festivals and parades, and especially sporting events. It's a city that works